YouTube Ozzico in the Goat House is back. Today, I got 5 teams that I think are better than what their record is based on how they are playing this season, how they are playing recently, and just my thoughts overall on the team. So we'll talk about those 5 teams, and after that, we'll talk about teams that maybe a lot of you out there would have expected on the list and why they are not on the list. But yeah, excited about this one. I think there's a lot of teams that really don't match their record, how they play, where their talent is, doesn't match their record. So I thought this is a good idea here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe to notifications on. Full NFL coverage here. We have recent trade deadline videos and our normal weekly videos. Week 8 coming up here. Can't wait for our picks and more. Any link you're looking for, Twitter, very important. Follow Picks League, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, links pinned in the comments. Rocking the new Max Crosby chain from the GLD Shop, Real Gold. We have code GOAT for all of our sponsors' sites there. Again, links pinned in the comments for those things. So 5 teams that are better than their record, in my opinion, and this isn't like a predictions video. It's not like will be better, will get better. It's just who I think right now they're more difficult to play against than what their record shows. Start with the Cincinnati Bengals, who are starting to heat up as well. Beating the Saints 2 weeks ago, this last week playing the Falcons and beating them up pretty good. That offense kind of looking like that old I shouldn't say old, but last year's offense. Joe Burrow, those weapons all on the same page, all looking really good. The one thing here, and I've talked about it, the last couple of matchups have favored the Bengals, Saints, Falcons, because the Bengals are the better team, but because those defenses like to run a lot of man coverage, and the Bengals offense feasts off that. So maybe a little more of a test against the Browns, who are struggling right now, but this upcoming Monday night, because they were going to run a little bit more zone. They get good pressure on the quarterback. So maybe a little bit more of a test, and we'll see. Maybe the Bengals are only good against certain teams. I don't really get that feeling right now, though. They're playing really good football. It just really feels different than early in the year. And what does early, the first 3-4 weeks tell us? Every single year in the NFL, it tells us absolutely nothing. So it's a good sign for the Bengals. They're getting going. They're kind of clicking everything, with the players, the play calling, all those things. So yeah, excited to watch the Bengals going forward. But just based on how they are acting, how they are playing right now, when I put Bengals next to 4-3 record, I'm like, they're tougher. They're tougher than that for sure. So that is why Cincinnati Bengals are on this list. First team on this list. Second team, got to go with the Seattle Seahawks. It's crazy too, because early in the year, they started off 1-0 and they're looking pretty decent. And you probably think the Seahawks aren't as good as their record shows, but now sitting at 4-3, fresh off beating up the Chargers, beating them up pretty good. I feel like the Seahawks are much tougher, much better than 4-3. They had a couple tough losses, Falcons, Saints. Those are tough, but they're a tough team. They're a team I wouldn't really want to play. I like that they are equally effective passing the ball and running the ball. Like, you got a game plan for both equally. Like, they could beat you with either one. Their offense line is playing better than they've played in a long time, and credit to the draft. Really, the draft picks there. Some the 2 rookie tackles, obviously. So with Cross and Lucas. So that's a big piece, is that they can beat you with Geno Smith throwing the ball, and he's throwing it very, very well. And they can beat you on the ground, and Penny's out too, obviously, for the year. Kenny Walker's been doing pretty damn good, which shouldn't really be that much of a surprise. Top tier running back in this last draft. And then you look at defense. Yeah, the defense has struggled here and there, but the last couple weeks, like I said, this video is kind of based off what they're recently showing me too. The last couple weeks, the defense is getting better, and it kind of makes sense because they're very young. They're kind of just getting going. It seems like they're getting better. You look at the Cardinals game, which, yes, the Cardinals were struggling a little bit on offense anyways, but the defense played a pretty damn good game. And the same thing against the Chargers. That's an explosive offense. They did a really good job, kind of throwing off Herbert. Herbert didn't really play the best he could possibly play, because the Seahawks did a really good job in coverage. They were tight in coverage. They started disguising some coverages. So getting better on defense. It's definitely not the strength of this team, but it's a team that, no one can take lightly. Like, going into them, like, you got to worry about multiple things when playing the Seattle Seahawks. So they went from a team that no one expected to be good to starting off pretty good, but people probably saying they're not as good as their record, to now they're underrated. They're better than what their record shows, just based on how they are playing, especially recently. So the 4-3 Seahawks, watch out for those guys. They play the Giants next in week 8. That's gonna be a fun game. That's gonna be a really good game in my opinion. So can't wait for that one. Third team on this list, gonna go with the San Francisco 49ers, who are disappointing recently, because they're on a 2-game losing streak. But the 49ers are a little different than the other teams on the list. But they also belong on this list. Obviously, I have them here, but yeah, 2-game losing streak. I mean, losing the Falcons by 14 points is pretty tough, but you are extremely, extremely beat up in a game like that. And then this game against the Chiefs, they were impressive through parts of this game. Still really beat up, but they're impressive throughout parts. It's very disappointing allowing 44 points. Chiefs are a very, very tough team, though. But I mean, I'm confident with the 49ers. It's a little bit of a mess right now. They got to get healthy. It's a little scary because they're not winning the division. The Seahawks are winning that division. No one really expected that, but I'm just confident with the Niners. I can't say I'm confident with their durability. Like, they may be beat up at any given time. That's where I'm not confident. But go look at the Rams game's a good example. Like, how dominant they look in that game and how good they look on both sides of the ball. This team is they've shown me. I don't really need to see a lot, but they've shown me enough to tell me they are capable of being the best team in the NFC when it gets to like an NFC championship game if they're there. But they got to stay healthy. But they're talented enough, so where I think they're definitely, without a question, I think most people would agree, they are better than 3 and 4. There's other teams that are kind of in the same boat. You feel like they're a playoff team, but they have a bad record like the 49ers, and you think they got to be better. That's the difference. There's some teams that we'll talk about at the end that I don't have included in this top 5 that you may say more of, they got to be better, right? 49ers, I'm not really saying that. I think they're better. I believe they are better than 3 and 4. It's not like a question. They got to be better, right? No, I believe they are better. It's got to be healthier, really, is what it is. Garoppolo's got to play a little better too. Last couple of weeks a little off, but yeah, they've had a tough last couple games. I think they'll get some things going here. Next team on the list, got to go with the Raiders. They're 2 and 4, and they're playing better recently. And you could say, well, they're only on a 1-game winning streak. It's not much of a winning streak, and that's against the Texans, but take a look at that Chiefs game. A tough one against the Chiefs. Chiefs are one of the better teams in football. They put some good things out there. They almost won that game. I know almost isn't enough, but they showed some good things. They are a tough team to stop on the ground. It's not one of those teams where they can beat you with the pass and on the ground. Like, you got a game plan for both. You got a game plan for, because Carr can throw a pretty good ball. He can throw a pretty good downfield ball as well. I kind of have that splash, explosive play down the field. You got to worry about Devontae Adams, but Josh Jacobs is running as good as anyone. There's some tough runners this year so far. To list a few: Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, of course. But Josh Jacobs is there. He's right there. He's a machine this year. So they're tough to deal with. Defensively, you can move the ball on them, but they'll make some plays. They got some pass rush. They started off a little slow on kind of that portion of the season where you can't really take super seriously, and they're getting going. I know they're 1-1 in their last 2, 2-1 their last 3, so that's good, but 1-1 in their last 2. But they're getting going. They're getting going. You can even see it in that Chiefs game here. There was a tiny portion of that Texans game, which was yesterday, where it was like, man, are the Texans going to win this game? So that was a little scary. I guess that can't happen, but it was just a small portion there, and they really figured some things out. It feels like they're figuring things out. These last three weeks or so, they're figuring things out, and they're talented. We know that. So they are, I feel good about them. When you're playing the Raiders, 2 and 4, you cannot look at that 2 and 4. They are much better than that 2 and 4 record, and that's really what this list is. And then next, the last team on this list, before we talk about some other teams that you may think I should have or could have or would have included, I got to go with the Patriots. So it's week 7 right now, and tonight, a couple hours, the Patriots at home on Monday Night Football play the Chicago Bears. If they lose to the Chicago Bears, this all backfires on me. This video backfires. Take the Patriots off this list. There's no way in hell they should lose to the Chicago Bears not just because they're much better and the Bears are struggling, but look at the matchup as well. Like, I don't really see how the Bears could score many at all enough on the Patriots. But so I guess keep that in mind at this video as you're watching it right now, or maybe you're watching it after that game. This definitely could backfire on me. It can backfire, but I'm pretty confident with them, and they've shown some good things recently. They didn't show good things in that early portion of the season that, again, history shows doesn't really mean much. We can't have takeaways from it. They've been pretty solid lately. That with the backup quarterback, and Mac Jones supposed to return tonight. We'll see how he does, but they've been running the ball super effectively. The offensive line's been playing very well. They've been getting better passing the ball. The play calling's been better. There's such a concern about Patricia in preseason, the start of the year, the first couple games, and I think what people don't realize is there was actually a little bit of a change in kind of how they run things, a little bit of the scheme, the blocking scheme, moving from McDaniels to this new offense, Patricia, whoever designed it, a little bit more outside zone in that one. And they're adjusting, and they're starting to play well, and the defense is starting to play like maybe the best defense in football. And you could say maybe it's the same Patriots as last year because we were kind of questioning them early or going into the year, whatever, and then they kind of went on a stretch where their defense was so damn dominant, it looked like the best defense in football, and then all of a sudden down the stretch of the season in the big games, heading into the playoffs, in the playoff, that one playoff game, it just wasn't the same. So you definitely could say maybe they'll look like a 3-3 team down the stretch, and once teams figure them out. That's an assumption. It's a prediction. That's not what this video is about. We're not going to say whether or not that's going to be the case. Right now, they're adjusting properly. They're figuring things out. They're playing as good as defense as anyone in football, and they're getting better offensively. They're figuring things out. They're a much tougher team than 3-3. Like I'm playing a 3-3 team. The Patriots kind of doesn't really match that. Like it's tough. We're going to have a tough job on the ground. We're going to have a tough job playing that defense, getting the ball out on time, being accurate, things like that. So Patriots feel like a much better team than 3-3 right now, mainly based on how they have played recently. But again, they play tonight against Chicago Bears in Monday Night Football. If they lose that game, forget everything I just said. I'm taking them off the list here. So some teams that you may have expected to be on this list, or you may say should be, could be, whatever it may be. The Dolphins are unlike the rest of the teams on this list on your screen right now. The Dolphins were strongly considered making it a top 6, the 6 teams that are bearing the record. The Dolphins are a mystery team right now. They are a mystery team when it comes to an exercise like this, right? Because it's tough to base anything off anything. I mean, they just fresh off beating the Steelers last night. It was a weird game because early it was like, okay, the Dolphins look legit. They're healthy again. But then they kind of just shut down. The Steelers had a good opportunity to win that game, couldn't pull it off. Maybe if they just capitalized on some interceptions they should have had, they could have won that. They probably would have won the game. So it's tough to judge the Dolphins off that game. It's tough to judge the Dolphins off the previous three games because they lost them all and they were very, very beat up. And it's tough to judge them off the 3-0 start because what do the first 3-4 weeks tell us about every single year in the NFL? It means nothing. You can't have any takeaways. You just get out there with a win. So they look good in those first 3 games, but I can't say here going into week 8 they are better, worse, the same as those first 3 games because we just don't know. I mean, I'm sure fans would be like, oh, they're as good as that, but you're just assuming things. So we just don't know. I'd say they're definitely better than the 3-game losing streak team they are on. That's 100%, right? But we just don't know for sure. Are they better than that 4-3 team that they are? I take the educated guess that they are, but it's just kind of me guessing and assuming things. So I didn't really feel super comfortable putting them in that 5. It would be 6 with the Dolphins, but they're kind of borderline for me. I kind of want to see some more here, and I need to see them stay healthy too. Can we trust them to stay healthy? The other teams are very much alike, though. I think the Dolphins are different. They're kind of in their own category, but some of these other teams are pretty similar in ways. The Ravens, you could say, they're 4-3 right now. They've been, even the games they lost, they were leading those games for a portion, so you can say they were just seconds of minutes away from being this much of a better record. That's true, and you could say you can predict that they'll stop choking games and they'll figure it out and they'll get better down the stretch. That's accurate, sure. They're a pretty good team, but are they, based on how they've played and how they are today at this moment, are they really better than 4-3? I could say maybe slightly, but they consistently kind of choke games. They almost choked the Browns game as well. They haven't really been able to get the run game consistently going. Gus Edwards shut up this last game, but it doesn't really feel like your typical Ravens run game. Lamar's been off recently. Receivers aren't getting separation. I'd say the defense is getting better. They're adjusting properly, but they started off a little slow. But they've kind of been sloppy at the end of games and consistently. So I think how they've played, what they've shown us, they're kind of their record right now. Maybe you could say slightly better, maybe, just because the talent that's on the Ravens. So that's why I don't have them in the 5. And it's a totally different statement or conversation if you want to say they will figure it out, they will be better, they will get better because they're talented, the Ravens. I agree with that. That's totally different than what we're doing here, though. The Buccaneers, plain and simple, at 3-4, they have not played better than a 3-4 team. Another one where you could say the Bucs Tom Brady, these guys, they'll figure it. They have to, right? They're going to figure it out. They got to be better in this, right? Like, it's kind of a question. And you can predict that they'll figure it out. They'll win the division. And I think that's an accurate prediction. But again, that's not this video. Do they right now, are they looking like better than what their record is? And no, I don't think so. And the same exact thing goes with the Packers. You know, they're really not playing good on both sides of the ball. They can't get anything going. So you look at the Buccaneers, the defense has its good moments, but they've been a little underwhelming. Run defense, offense has been extremely underwhelming, especially the run game. But yeah, the Packers and the Bucs are pretty similar right now. The Packers, you could say they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll catch the Vikings. I can honestly see that. Not that I'm going to count on that or anything like that. But right now, are they better than what the record is? No, they're not. Rams. Yeah, Rams off the bye, so maybe they can something figure it out after this. So maybe a better judgment on the Rams after this next week against the 49ers for sure. But they haven't been too good. I mean, even games they won against the Panthers, at least they beat the Panthers, unlike the Bucs. So maybe the Rams are in a better situation than teams like the Bucs and the Packers, but they haven't been blocking well. Stafford's been a turnover machine. They have no game plan when it comes to the run. They have no run game for the most part. Did I mention the offensive line's pretty brutal? Yeah, I think I did. And then their left tackle is now hurt, Joseph Nopum, as well. The defense is solid. You know, it doesn't really feel as good as it was last year, maybe, but yeah, they've been pretty sloppy. So I think again the Rams can definitely get there, but they haven't really been better than the record. And the Chargers, they've been really beat up, and that's why. But they're really not going to get much healthier. I guess Keenan Allen, he played the other day, but he's limited. Kind of can get back going. But now they're going to be without J.C. Jackson, Mike Williams for a little bit, so it kind of is what it is. And they've just been an inconsistent team. You know, they kind of look flashy one week and still not even themselves, though, because the lack of explosive plays is weird. Kind of almost relying on Eckler, and Herbert's still been good, very good, but relying on some things, to happen for those, or like relying on certain guys to make a splash play here and there. But yeah, you can definitely run the ball on them. You can control the clock. Offensively, they kind of have stalled here and there. It just feels like an inconsistent team. They've played they're a good team. Like, they're tough to play against, mainly because of Herbert, but they're inconsistent, and that's just what they are. Like, their record is what they've been. So I don't think they're really better. I'd say if they were healthy. And it's a little different than the 49ers because the 49ers got guys coming back every week and then guys get knocked out. I say if the Chargers, because the Chargers got guys that are just going to be out. They're out. They've been out. They're going to be out. So I'd say if they were healthier, their record would still match what they are and not what their current record is now. If they're healthy, they'd be winning more games and their record would match who they are. So I think it's a little different than a team like the 49ers, who people may compare to, but they're kind of playing like who they are right now. Their record is like what they are right now. So that's my take on the Chargers. So I thought this was a fun video idea. Maybe we can update this here and there throughout the year. I think this year is kind of crazy where there's a lot of teams that don't match their record. There's teams that I don't think are as good as their record either, but I think we'd only get negative takes or comments and feedback from a video like that. It would be a fun one to do too, like kind of this video, but the opposite. But yeah, it's just a weird year. Strange outcomes. No teams are consistent, and that kind of leaves us with records, I feel like, that don't really match some teams. But I guess that's my opinion. But I think a lot of people are kind of in agreement with that. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. If you have a different 5 teams, if you have more or less than 5 teams, there's probably other teams you can talk about. I mean, there's teams that we expected to have better record than what they are, and maybe they could get better and start winning at one point. Teams like, top of my head, Broncos, Saints, Cardinals, teams like that, but that's just not this video, though, at the same time. So, but that'll wrap up this one. Again, let me know your thoughts. We're always talking on Twitter with you guys as well. Link pin in the comments for that. Anything else that you're looking for. Trade deadline videos out. Definitely more to come. Working on those still. It should be a pretty active trade deadline. We have live updates for that on Twitter. But make sure you like, subscribe to notifications on here on the channel. We much appreciate it. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.